You done good, Ron.
And peace to all on earth, that they may have goodwill, is the message of our scriptures. And when we think about peace, we can think about peace in so many different ways. We can think of peace as the absence of war. And those of you who know me know that that's very high on my list, the absence of war. What a wonderful world that would be for us to live in. We can think about peace of mind. And there's not a one of us who at some time or another could not pray for peace of mind. And we can think about the peace that passes all understanding. Well, today I want to talk about special peace as a peace that does surpass all understanding. A threefold peace. A peace within us, a peace with others, and a peace with God. And I believe those are the three elements of peace that are represented by the baby Jesus in Bethlehem. You know, there's a story about a young woman who lived on a ranch out in West Texas, and she had fallen in love with a local cowboy. And the cowboy was named, you guessed it, Tex. West Texas cowboy, Tex. And she really hoped to get married. And Tex was a lot like a lot of cowboys. He was inexperienced in the world of romance. And to make matters worse, he was like lots of other cowboys. He was very shy, very shy, very shy. And so she knew that if this romance that she hoped for was going to go anywhere, she was going to have to take matters in both hands to get it off dead center and get it to moving. So one evening they were sitting together out on her front porch in her swing, and there wasn't much conversation going. And so she said, do you think my eyes are like glittering stars? And she looked at him, and he said, yep. Do you think my teeth are like a string of pretty pearls? And he looked at her, and he said, yep. And do you think my complexion is as gorgeous as rose petals? And he looked at her and he said, yep. Do you think my hair shines like gold in the moonlight? And he nodded his head, yep. Oh, Tex, she said, you say the most wonderful things. Well, we don't have to drag sayings and the most wonderful things out of the Christmas season in order to realize that Christmas does, in fact, offer us some wonderful things. But we have to have the ears to hear it, and we have to have the eyes to see it, and we have to have the faith to feel all that Christmas has to offer to us. But one of the best gifts of Christmas is the gift of peace. You see, this, after all, is one of the main themes of all of Christmas, isn't it? peace on earth and goodwill to all. Christ is the Prince of Peace. He brings this peace that passes all understanding. He comes to visit, and he comes to redeem all of his people. He comes to guide our feet in his way, and his way is the way of peace. At least that's the way the Bible puts it. George Frederick Handel composed one of the most beloved pieces of music ever written. It was called The Messiah. And he did so, wrote this song after Christ had brought peace to his anguished spirit. He was frustrated with himself. He was cut off from others. He was isolated. He was sick. His eyes were failing him. He was out of money. His tank was just on empty. He was dejected. He was lonely. He was homeless. He was miserable. And his creativity was gone. It was exhausted. But then Christ came to him, and he stilled the storms in his life, and he gave him a new person. He became creative once again. He became at peace once again. His fear was taken away from him, and his creative was, in fact, returned. So at that point, he grabbed his pen and he composed that wonderful, wonderful piece of music that is so well known. Christ came to him and gave him peace. You see, Christmas is the dramatic reminder that Christ came in this world to redeem us and to bring peace to our troubled souls. You know, we have a gift, or rather a tradition, a custom, you might call it, of giving gifts at Christmas time. And it tends to consume us, maybe for many weeks before Christmas, shopping and thinking, and that's good. But it is that consuming drive to get gifts for people. And yet Christmas has the greatest gift for you and I. That's the gift of peace. Christmas offers us peace within, peace with others, and peace with God. The three greatest gifts of peace that there are. Peace for self, peace for others, and peace with God. In the movie Home Alone, the young boy in the movie's name is Kevin. And Kevin is sad and lonely in the movie because his parents have gone off on a vacation and they've left him at home alone. They've left him at home alone because he wasn't acting very right as a part of the family, and he wasn't treating them very right. And so in his loneliness, he decides to go to a church. And in one scene, he is in this church, and he's in conversation with an elderly man. And this man is also unhappy because he has family issues. And as they're talking, Kevin readily admits to this elderly man that he misses his family, and he knows it's largely his fault that he's home alone because of the way he reacted around the family when they were together. And the older man tells Kevin, "You're in church now, and this is the place to come When you're feeling bad about yourself, this is the place to come when you're feeling bad. Well, that's really right, isn't it? Many of us do that. The church exists because of that baby Jesus that was born in Bethlehem, and it is indeed the place to come for comfort. It is the place to come when we need to be reminded that we need forgiveness and that we need to be able to give forgiveness, when we need peace for our troubled souls. The church is a good place to come. Remember, whenever our world is broken into many pieces, it is God that reaches down beside us, hugs us, and it's God who says, "Let me help you pick up the pieces. Let me help you put your life together. And let's see what you and I can make of your life together." See, Christmas also gives us peace with others as well as it does peace within. We all know how sad it feels when people get out of sorts with one another, how estranged people can become, how hostile they can feel towards one another. And many of us have been there and done that ourselves. We know that very well. I wonder if we will ever learn. Sometimes I really wonder, will we ever learn? Many of us know the feeling of sleeplessness at night when we've been brooding over resentments to others, trying to figure out how we're going to get even with them for all the damage they've done to us, thinking about our pound of flesh, wallowing in self-pity, not even thinking about forgiving or not even thinking about reconciling, but getting even. And revenge and cruel words are never, ever sweet. Revenge and cruel words become a sour stomach and very bitter memories. Hate poisons the soul. Resentment, jealousy, bigotry, prejudice all end up making us sick, and they don't harm the ones who are the object of our discontent. Jesus knew this, and he came into the world to show us how to be peacemakers, bridge builders, reconcilers, how to offer forgiveness and how to accept forgiveness. Remember, there is a real good reason he is called the Prince of Peace. If we want to find the peace of Christmas, we need to be right with God. You see, that's the starting place, because that's what Christmas is all about. Christ came into this world to set us to be right with God, to bring us back to God. There's a story about an elderly couple. They were driving down the street at Christmas time, and they were listening to the radio, and they were hearing the good old Christmas songs play as the man was driving down the car, and the wife was sitting, as she always did, over in the passenger seat, almost to the door, and the wife became nostalgic as the music played, and she looked at her husband and she said in her sweetest little voice, "Honey, do you remember when we were younger and we used to sit together and snuggle when we drove along in the car, and how nice it was and what a wonderful feeling it was to snuggle together in the car as we drove along? What happened? It was so wonderful." The husband thinks for a minute, and then he says, "You know, I really don't know about that. I'm not the one who moved." Well, Christmas comes each time of the year to remind us that God is not the one who has moved. He never did move away from us. We are the ones who move. We are the ones who drift away. And the coming of Christmas is a time to remind us to move back, to get back to God. You see, Christmas is all about being close to God, about being right with ourselves, about being right with others, and being close to God. We have to realize that God is not only with us, and incidentally, that's the meaning of the word Emmanuel when we sing that song, God is with us, but God is with others as well. Some years ago, baseball player Hank Aaron was checking into a hotel, and the young desk clerk told him, "Well, sir, I'm sorry, we're full up. There are no other rooms available." And the hotel manager happened to be off to the side, and he was watching as this transaction or lack of a transaction was going on. And he recognized Hank Aaron, who was a surefire Hall of Fame member to be at that time. And so he came over to the clerk and he says, "Don't you know who this is? This is the great Hank Aaron, who just recently broke Babe Ruth's home run record." And the clerk said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Aaron. Of course we can find a room for you." And then he said, "Why didn't you tell me you were somebody?" Well, we should all love Hank Aaron's answer to this desk clerk. His answer was, "Son, everybody is somebody." That's what Christmas tells us. Everybody is somebody. But even more than that, everybody is the somebody for whom Christ came and for whom Christ died. If we could remember that, and if we could treat everybody we meet with that kind of love and that kind of respect, what a difference it would make in our society. I challenge you today, if you are estranged from anybody, at odds with anybody, let that hostility go. And go fix that relationship today. Go set it right today. With the help of God, go make peace today. Christmas offers us a gift of peace within, the gift of peace with others, and the gift of peace of God. It was 2 days before Christmas. There was a long line at the post office of people who were trying to mail those last-minute packages to be sure they were going to get to their loved ones or their friends by Christmas time. And there was a woman standing in line, and she had 3 little kids in tow that she was dragging along. And she asked the clerk when she finally got up to the front of the line, "Can you get this package to Phoenix, Arizona by tomorrow?" And the clerk says, "Oh, yes, ma'am, I can do that, but it's going to cost you." And she said, "How much is it going to cost?" And he says, $47.40. And she said, "Wow, that's a lot of money for just one package." He says, "I can't help it. That's what the cost is." So she says, "Well, let's do it. I really need to get this package there by Christmas Day, because it's not only Christmas, it's going to my father, and that's also his birthday." Man, the clerk responded to her, "What a bum deal that is. I'm sure glad I don't know anybody that was born on Christmas Day." Somebody back in the line heard him say that. He said, "I'm sure glad that I do." How about you? Amen.